BitSwap is the hottest new way to trade tokens. Crawling all the top decentralized exchanges, BitSwap will get you the very best price and value for your trades. BitSwap is changing the game. Try it now at bitswapdex.com.
Welcome to Rice TVX. On today's Freedom Spotlight, I am joined by Sandra Giltrap. She is a health worker and freedom fighter in Ireland. Now, these Freedom Spotlight videos you will not see on my main YouTube channel due to censorship. I will upload this to Rice TVX 2 as a sacrificial lamb because this video probably will get deleted and I will get a strike. And it will also be on Odyssey and Library where I have 100% of my content. So make sure you're not only following me on Rice TVX, but also Rice TVX 2. Both can be found on YouTube, as well as Odyssey and Library and BitChute. Before we get into it, make sure you visit ricecrypto.crypto and sign up for my mailing list so you never miss an update or new Rice TVX content. Plus, you can find my social media links, contact information, get Rice TVX merch coming soon via the shop, and more. If this is your first time ever watching any of my videos, check out and explore my channels. Make sure you subscribe to Rice TVX and Rice TVX 2. Both can be found on YouTube. And hit the notification bell to get alerted to new videos. Also, you can follow me on Odyssey and Library where I have my full catalog of videos plus extra content. And you can also find Rice TVX on BitChute. If you want to support Rice TVX and what I do directly, I have my PayPal, Cash App, plus my cryptocurrency addresses via my Cointree link below in the video description. You can also join my Patreon channel where you will get early access to some of my videos, exclusive content, and more, with 4 different levels of membership, all offering something different. If you are looking to purchase and invest in precious metals, gold and silver are both good safe haven assets to hedge against the financial collapse we are experiencing. Check out Money Metals Exchange. I partnered up with them and you can get a free ½ ounce of silver. Visit moneymetals.com, be a first-time buyer, purchase a minimum of $100, and use the promo code RICE. You get a free ½ ounce of silver and it's another way to support the channel. I will include links down below for everything I just mentioned as well as everything I talk about on today's show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining me on today's video, which is a Freedom Spotlight, I have the honor and pleasure of being joined by Sandra Giltrap. She is a current health worker. She's currently on paid leave, which I'm going to give her an opportunity to explain. A good friend of mine in Ireland, his name is Mouse. He introduced me to Dolores Cahill, who I've had on the show before, and Sandra has also worked with Dolores as well. So Mouse told me a little bit about her situation and what was going on, said that she is a warrior, a freedom fighter, and I needed to highlight what she is doing and bring some attention to what's happening over in Ireland. So Sandra, thank you for accepting my invitation to come on. How are you today?
I'm good, Chris, and thank you for having me on.
And I'm looking forward to the conversation. So
let's see where it goes. I never know what I'm going to say or where it goes, so let's see what happens.
Well, like I told you before we started recording, this is a Freedom Spotlight. It's not going to be on the main YouTube channel. I have 2 strikes, and if I have another strike between now and early January, I lose the channel. So this will be available on my backup channel on YouTube to see how YouTube likes it. And then it'll also be available on Odyssey and Library. And I will be letting people know about this because the Freedom Spotlights are really important. And the reason I do them on these platforms is so that we can have an uncensored conversation and not really worry about what we're saying, because self-censorship really sucks. And in this particular conversation, it will make the conversation a little bit more difficult. So, but now Rice TVX 2, the backup channel, has no strikes. It only has a warning. So I don't mind kind of putting up a few things as a sacrificial lamb to see how the algorithms act. But Sandra, do you mind kind of in your words, you're a current health worker, but do you mind explaining a little bit more about who you are and what you got going on?
Well, mine is very long story. I'll try to skip through it, but basically, when I was younger, I was in the care system, which is TUSLA, which is our childcare systems, and I was in foster care and left school at a very young age. So I suppose just not having nothing to do and being depressed about life, I went in and said, okay, where do I go from here? So I went back and I did my leaving certificate in 2008 and finished that in 2010. And then I went on to college to do an honours bachelor's degree in applied social care. I left after the year one because I had seen very quickly that they were indoctrinating people when it came to the pedophilia in psychology. And actually, a good example of that and a prime example of that to say that I was right about that was just we have this new RSE, Regional Sex Education Program, that's been put out in this country. And it talks about masturbation at 5 years old and teaches children obscene things. It's what's really going on is crazy. But when I had put up the TED Talks about, they were saying paedophilia is a sexual orientation, and I put up some links from MenuI Galway. I think I put up about 22 or 23 links in total against what they're doing, trying to sexualize our children in the schools. And the only three people who actually agreed with this were three people I was in college with.
Wow.
Yeah,
So you
that
kind of you
I'd seen it very early on what they were doing, so I had to change course of my education because I realised then being in the care system myself, also I was too attached. I did try to do like cognitive behaviour therapy and things like that to detach, but I was too emotionally attached. So I went on then to work with adults with special needs and challenging behaviours. And I worked in community hospitals, nursing homes, residential homes, palliative care, psychiatric services. Um, but my latest was in residential services, which was amazing. It was a great job. Um, and I started studying employment law
Mhm.
with the union, that a union over here for health workers. And what I saw very fast once I had tried to bring the union in, there was big repercussions for that. My job had tried every way that they could to try get rid of me, because if they got rid of me, they got rid of the union. But anyway, long story short, I'm out on paid leave on that matter, and that is prior to COVID-19. It's not related to that. I'd say they wouldn't want me back now if they searched my name with all the talking I've been doing on that topic for the last 19 months.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds like you're very outspoken. You're very outspoken, and that's a good thing. And I want to get some clarification and make sure I'm understanding this correctly. Also, you said that you were in childcare system early in life. So
Yeah.
were you orphaned?
No, there was abuse. My father's in prison right now for the abuse he put some family members, myself, through. So because of that, I was put in a care home. Um, Again, that's an ongoing case that I have in the courts for the last almost or 3.5 years on both, because of there's 37 counts of child negligence in that case in relation to mine, but I won't discuss too much about that in case I jeopardize the case.
No,
But
I completely respect that. I was just trying to get a better understanding of, because if, like, when I was younger, my mother was on government assistance, so we grew up kind of poor, and being in kind of the system,
yeah,
it gave me a better comprehension about how everything worked. And so I'm saying that just to highlight what your upbringing has put so much moral values and the way that you look at the world, that you're willing to change your course of education
yeah,
because of how it made you feel, and kind of taking a different direction. And I got to commend that as well. um, So, what is the HSC? Because that was Mouse was saying that you're a health worker with the HSC and then a
It's the
former
health
union.
service executive over here in Ireland, well, in the southern part of Ireland, because they tell us we have two jurisdictions. So it would be the National Health Service in the north part of this island, and then it would be the Health Service Executive on the southern part.
Okay, and then you're the former union rep as well.
Yeah, well, you see, I had been doing the union rep voluntarily for over 3 years because, for one thing, for me, I cannot bear injustice, and I volunteered myself to be the company's representative, and I never lost a single case, even as a newbie. I always was meticulous in my work that I did. So I went in to study employment law, and I completed half of it, and then COVID had hit. Well, before that, I became the representative for a few others in the company as well, without the qualifications because I was good at my job. And when COVID hit, then, and I realised that the union company were not, they were remaining neutral. They wouldn't get involved because we know that they're all in the pockets of the government. So I sent in a letter of resignation from the course, and sent in a resignation from being a representative, because I will never be employed. I'll never take money from any of these people who have this ideology that they have the right to ever tell another man or a woman what they can or cannot do. We're not in a nanny state.
Right. Now you're on a paid leave as a health worker. What were you? I guess you were put on paid leave timeout. What
For
did
three
you
and a half years.
what did you do 3.5 years ago before COVID-19 that got you
Oh,
sort of on the hot seat?
I was exposing the fraud through the whole company, right from the bottom to the top. And when I got to the top, it was worth it, because from the 3rd of July just gone, they had until the 3rd of July to vacate their positions, and it was taken over by another good company. Please God, it will be. But it seems to have a good reputation. So it only took 3.5 years, but adios to them. Now we just have to knock down bigger walls over here with these politics, many leeches that we have that say they are our voices. We're just going to knock them down now too.
Well, how have you? I'm just curious, without me being too nosy. How have you made it? How have you been able to be on 3.5 years of paid leave for being in trouble when
Good
they
question.
could have just fired you and not paid you anything?
Because they had no case to answer to, and they still don't, and they can't, and they're caught, they're in a corner, and they've no way out. So it's easier for them to keep me on paid leave. Probably hope I get my jab, maybe, and I go away. But I'm here to tell them I ain't going anywhere.
Man, you Irish ladies, something about you guys or you ladies, you guys are fiery. My blood, my last name is it comes from Wales. So rice, which go from the old Welsh RIS, and then I found that my six-time great grandfather was born in Ireland, and I know I had family that lived in Ireland. So between Wales and Ireland is where a lot of my ancestry on my father's side comes from.
Well, that's a brilliant topic that you just brought up. I've actually never said this to anyone. It's only something I've uncovered lately. So I was trying to uncover where my name came from. Um, I suppose growing up in such poverty, where we were growing up, like every second house was a traveller's house. We were integrated with the travelling community. I can speak their language better than they can themselves. So um, then where we were, we were in such poverty that our name was not a good name to have, and there was at times I would have used my mother's maiden name. So it's not something I ever went looking for or digging for, and because I was split off from my father's side of the family, because of the childhood background and the care and things like that, I just never wanted to find out. But then it's always been on this journey. I realise that our name is all that we have in this world. Our name is our honor. It's everything. If we can't leave this earth with a good name, well, nothing else is worth it, because that's all we leave with. So I've been trying to uncover where I came from, and I couldn't find the family crest. I couldn't find anything of my family history. And I was talking to an estranged cousin of mine last week, and she told me that, well, I've actually seen the evidence of it now and a headstone as well. My great grandfather was enrolled in the army, the Irish Army, in 1916. And he married his wife there, and they lived on the Curragh, which is the army in Ireland. My grandfather was born on the Curragh, and he was a soldier as well until he died too. So just looking back and realizing that, wow, they might have deleted our name and diluted us, and but looking back, we had such a great fighting military background. So there's no wonder I'm the fighter that I am. There's no wonder, it's in my blood.
It makes sense, and I really appreciate you sharing that too, especially like personal history.
Yeah, it's only something new. I'm proud of it though. I'm proud that I start looking for my name again.
And I felt the same way. I was a very similar story. It was my grandfather of my dad's father that I did some things that really upset me, and I really wanted nothing to do with that individual. But I had to look beyond that. And when I got older, I started looking into things and discovered. Actually, it was last year that I discovered all this, and I found out there was a four-time removed cousin of mine that wrote a book about my entire ancestry, even going down to like when it goes to Old Wales, like the Old Welsh, and then in Ireland to the clan groups. So I was part of a clan of Daedad.
We all
Um,
spoke England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. We all had Scotus. We all spoke the same language. We were all one tribe prior to us being separated by religion, politics, and the powers that be, and the think tanks that they have to divide us. So we fight with each other rather than looking up at them. So yes, the English, Irish, Scottish, and Welsh have an absolute fabulous history.
yeah, it's
Um,
very.
and it's so sad, really, the divide between the English and the Irish, and the Welsh and the English, and the Scottish and the English. They blame the English, I suppose, for everything. But if you go back further, it wasn't the English that. Well, we all know the fake British monarch, the Germans that are in there, um, did this deliberately by design, and this comes right back to Babylonia. This language we speak comes from this Babel. It comes from Babylonia,
The
and
English language, yes.
yeah,
It's like a form of what was back in the days of Rome when they had Latin as the main language, the debased form of Latin
yeah,
for the for the regular people was dog Latin. And then
yeah,
as languages developed, they created this mutt language that they call English, that's
yeah.
made up of, and it's just, and it is babble, and it is confusing. And then you look into the legal world, the legalese language versus the regular language that we use, and it's phenomenal. So that kind of leads into the next question. Mouse was telling me that because he recommended me do this, and he was giving me a little bit of a background on you. So he said you had two pending cases against the state, and
Yes,
and let's see here, currently trying to bring a halt to the UK state-owned corporation which has plans to mine the north for gold,
yes, yes,
and that would cause some sort of radioactive waste deposits being left. And this is all so that the UK can meet zero net emissions by 2030, and it all takes place at the expense of the Irish people. And this is a test. The test site is like 10 miles away from where Mouse lives. I said that this has been in motion since 2004. It's in the final stages. And this happens, it's the beginning of the end for our lands and homes. And it's funded by powerful companies like BlackRock and Dow Radian and Orion. And politicians from the North and South are complicit in the acts that are going to have absolute dire consequences for the entire island and all of your people, and technically my people. And the sad thing is that the information is being deliberately hidden from people. So he wanted me to bring you on to highlight this. So I wanted to ask first, the 2 pending cases against the state, does that have anything to do with what I just mentioned with the UK state corporation, the gold, or is that a
So
separate?
the 2 cases I have are 3.5 years old. So I would have taken it long before I actually delved into the law myself.
Okay.
But I was dealing with the corporations to um for this with this case, but it's nearly the end of it. But I didn't know then what I know now. So we'll see where that one goes. And then yes, with the do you want me to go on to the Dalradians, or do you want me to talk more about my
Well, that's
own?
what I was gonna. So I was gonna. The main thing that you wanted to bring attention to. That's because obviously there's a lot of information that's not being shared in the mainstream media, and we have to use alternative media sources, independent media, and sometimes so-called journalists like myself. So, what was it that was imperative that we try to let other people know that's going on in Ireland? If it's about the state-owned corporation and the gold, then we can just move right there.
Well, you see, Tusla is the family advocacy agent, and you see, my best friend has had her son removed from her because she had drug addiction, which she willingly asked for help and agreed to allow him to go until she got herself sorted, and she's 6 years clean, 6 years not even a drink in her mouth. She has done every parenting class that she could possibly be. She has been in prison 6 times for posting a picture of her own son, and they have completely alienated her from her family. I also have another friend, and Tusla has taken away her daughter, all because there was a silly complaint over an argument. And you see, Tusla are taking children in this country wherever they can and however they can, because when they take the children, they not only open up the mother and father's SDKV trust, they also open up the child's SDKV trust. So there's a big money making racket going on here, and there's children being trafficked through the Tusla systems. The biggest epidemic in our country right now is child trafficking and pedophilia. And actually, if you look at one of our government legislations, I'll paraphrase here, so not to allow myself to get caught up in legalities, but
Mhm.
one of the exemptions from a COVID-19 vaccine passport in this country was if there was somebody traveling with a non-national child with a view to making them national. Now, what a child trafficking haven and heaven that would be. We've our all of our sectors has been completely taken over with these stateness,
Is
these
this what you're referring to?
that's exactly it, yeah.
Okay. So is this so in the United States we have child protective services. Would this be something equivalent to child
It's
protective services?
yes, it works the very same as CPS, yeah.
Okay, just a different name for Ireland.
Yeah.
Well, um that is a touchy subject.
It is, but look, I won't stay too much on that
Oh
because
no,
it
no,
is
I'm not. I mean, like I said, that's not why I said that. I'm just saying it's a touchy subject, and I know that there's a lot of question about what takes place in the CPS here in the United States, the child, the different agencies and different nations that exist, like the Child Protective Services (CPS), like Tulsa.
yeah.
So it's just it's one of those things that when you really take time to focus on what could
And
be
just
going
in
on behind the scenes, it's not good for the soul.
No, and just in my case alone, and this was just charges we pulled out, that my barrister and senior counsel pulled out, was in their own handwriting, was 37 counts of child negligence, and so much in just their own handwriting. If I had to say what in my words, but it would be probably about 300 different charges. You know, they're not fit for purpose. They should be completely disbanded. In Ireland, we have to have, for a law to be become law, it must be first written into the language of our native people, which is Irish or Gaeilge or Gaelic, actually Gaelic. Um, and this law that Tusla has never been written into Gaelic, has never been written into our native language, so therefore it's unconstitutional.
The question, the language up here at the top, is that Gaelic?
Sorry, I can't see that from there.
Let me see if I can put this full screen so you can see it. At the very top, beside Tulsa, um,
Yes, yeah, it's just the name of the.
right above child and family agency name, it says something in a language I couldn't begin to pronounce.
I don't. I can't really see too clear, but yes, it is. It's Irish. It's not Gaelic because they bastardise our language as well. The language that's enrolled in the Supreme Court, our language is called Gor Gaelic. That's the language that is written enrolled in the Supreme Court here.
Gorgaelak.
Gor, Gor, Gaelic, Gaelrch.
Okay.
That's the language that we have enrolled in the Supreme Court. They changed the language then after that again, and they just bastardized it completely because
When
they have jurisdiction over we, the people, when we're in our native, when we speak our native language. They have only jurisdiction over this Babel that we speak.
so when did Ireland become English speaking
Oh,
and get rid of, because it seems like that English is the native language now, or the common language of Ireland.
it is. It's rare to actually. We have some Irish spoken places, but you see, even in our schools, they don't even teach it. They're not even bothered. They want to wipe it out completely. I'm ashamed to say that I'm very minimal Irish myself, but it's kind of good in a sense because I'm going to go back and learn Gore Gaelic, and at least I don't have to unlearn the bastardized Irish to relearn the proper way. So
Right.
I suppose I suppose it would be since 1776, since the piracy, they would have been trying to bring their Babel language into any country that they could. It decimated the English people first. The English people don't even have their own native people. They've been that decimated. Um,
Can you tell me off the top of your head what the name of the state-owned corporation that's doing this gold stuff in North Ireland is called?
it's Dalradian Mining Company. There's a guy, his name is Peter Andrews, I'm pretty sure. He was the CEO he is the CEO of Dalradians. Um, yeah, that's them.
I'm trying to pull up information on them.
And they were funded by BlackRock Institute.
BlackRock funds everything.
Yeah, well, BlackRock had given,
BlackRock and Vanguard, companies like that, have
yeah.
got their hands in everything.
You see, BlackRock pulled out. They had a 340 million investment, and the guys up on the mountain, they're up on the Spurns, they're absolutely amazing. They're wonderful, wonderful men, and I thank God for them because their big sign outside their gate says "Over our dead bodies," and that is exactly the way it will be because it will be over our dead bodies. We will never allow that to ever happen to our country. We will never allow these foreign investors to ever say that some corporation can own our land. We are the native people. They cannot hold allodial titles on the land of the native people. And that's why we need to recorrect our status and get ourselves out of their jurisdiction so we can claim back what is rightfully ours. But
Well
Black,
said.
sorry,
Well said. I'm definitely trying to do a lot of research to dot my I's and cross my T's when it comes to status correction or changing your status or whatever it is that we're talking about doing specifically. The legal fiction, the law stuff is definitely something that's very
yeah.
near and dear my heart, but I'm also an open-minded skeptic, and I like to have factual information, to back all this up. And
Well, I tell you, we might come back to it later, but I'll just say briefly, we have a wonderful man up here in Ireland, and they actually have a tag on his ankle that if he goes within 20 miles of the High Court, he will be arrested. This man has gone up as far as Jacob Rothschild. So
But he
believe
can't share any information publicly, not without him technically getting into some sort of issues.
oh
Uh,
well, his life has been in the balance, and they've done their usual honey traps and false accusations and all kinds of allegations, and to try and get this man because they know he has the key. So let me tell you, it is starting to. The judges are walking out of courts. The judges, they're locking down the courts. They won't even let people in. So, um, as much as a skeptic, I've actually seen it work with my two eyes. I've seen how scared they are now. And you see, the thing is, it is easy for these corporations to target individuals that are out there who know the law, know how corporations work. The dead world, corp dead, oration
right.
speak. Um,
No, I'm
but
not, and I'm not saying that what you're saying is not correct. It's just I have to like meet those kind of individuals and kind of see some things for myself versus just hearing it. So I'm just one of those kind of individuals. But I've been, if Mouse hasn't told you, I mean, I've interviewed so many different people in the space trying to learn, and I'm continuing to do so. But let's put some focus on what's going on with this Dalradian Corporation and what they're doing, because now I'm pulling up what the phases of the expiration. This is all dealing with the gold. I'm
there's
not sure.
actually
We
a document.
discovered that
Sorry,
Kurikinaut. I'm not sure what Kurikinaut is, if I'm even saying that right. Contains over 6 million ounces of gold.
I can't see it. Sorry.
No, I'm just reading through the website, and then they're just talking about phase 2, the planning. It looks like beautiful forests and stuff. So, I mean, I'm assuming that they would be trying to take all this down in order to be able to mine for gold. So, what's going on? What exactly is going on with this? How is it? How is the gold mining turning into radiation eventually that could affect people on the island?
You see, they had said that they found all these resources of gold up on the mountains up and sorry, just
No, you're good. I think your camera. Yeah, there you
yeah.
go.
And that they wanted to mine for gold, and it would be a great opportunity and a great investment for the people of Oma. And they sold people, the villagers, a story telling them, oh, because some of them had family away in other countries. Oh, you can bring back your family now. There'll be jobs for them, and it's going to be brilliant. And they just sold them a great idea. So they started buying off a lot of the villagers, a lot of people. They start giving jobs to anyone that was against them. One of the guys that were against him was brought in for questioning and arrested 24 times. They put up cameras all around the area to find these guys. Guys took the cameras back down. One of them was drove over by one of the actually hit with a car. By one of these Dalradian companies. Their people. Um, it's just been horrific up there to see how mining companies can separate a whole village. They're just so divided. And those guys are up there now. It's just over 1,350 days. It's been going on 11 years in total, but really the great resistance with them started just over 1,350 days ago. So they have put caravans up there. They've actually put a caravan up in the tree, which is quite cool. Um, they've signs everywhere, and they're not leaving. And it is over there with dead bodies because they're not leaving. None of us are, because people think it's all about gold. It's not even. It's the 80,000 explosives that's going to go into it over a 10-year period. Which they're doing every day.
Well,
It
that's what I was going to ask is okay, so they're planning on mining for gold,
silver.
and and then and then it says that in the void of that, going to be basically filling in all the landscape and mountain ranges with granite with radioactive waste deposits. Now, how does that come into play?
Well, you see, if you look, there's what they did, the Colossum Minerals, what they did to a town over in Brazil. You'll see how they left it. They left it, and the whole town was like a quarry. They left in a hurry. Um, but when they are finished digging out like one side of the mountain, so they're talking Antrim, Armagh, Tyrone, Derry, down. The reason, which is five of the six counties, the reason they didn't touch Fermanagh is because it's marshland. But it's not even the gold is not even that good of quality of gold where they're looking at, like, I know there's like 340 billion on one side of it, but it's not even the quality of gold that they're looking for. It's when they mine it out and mine everything out of it, they plan to fill it as the world's biggest nuclear waste plant. There is already a 25-page waste management document on the government's website in relation to this. They already have the waste management committee team
Well,
on this.
where is the waste coming from though? Because this, I mean, this is not a byproduct of mining gold, is it?
No, 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 no. That's only what they're going to fill the land with when it's when they've done digging out. They're just going to fill the land with it, which will that like if you look at the Carson River in Nevada, there's still a Superfund. It's a Superfund site, and that's still going through cleanup 150 years after contamination. They haven't even took into consideration the chances of the cyanide getting in the water, the cyanide in the water, it'll decimate our people. There's just so much. There's been, if there's the BBC did a very good, which I'm shocked at, by the way. I don't know what this is about, because not that they ever told the truth in their lives, so there must be a reason. But they did a great presentation called Spotlight on Spotlight on the BBC. It's the mining is in that, and it exposes exactly what they've been doing. They already have contaminated waters, and then what they did was they raised the levels up higher so they can keep matching the guidelines. Because and then you have the wildlife and the migratory birds drinking at tail and ends of, you've all these rivers, and it's just, it'll decimate our people, and it'll turn us into something like Chernobyl, that
Well,
if that leaks into the soil.
yeah, and I mean, obviously, I mean, like the Irish people have been a bit of a thorn in the side to the British monarchy. You know, it's not like the Irish, like, yeah, we want to be part of the UK. It seemed to be an ongoing fight, and
Cheers.
it makes sense to take out your some of your more quality enemies, especially
Yeah,
doing something using their own land
yeah.
to do
But
it.
you see, the thing is, a treaty is a contract between two foreign nations, and when the treaty was signed here in 1922, and every contract only lasts 99 years. So 1922 brings us right up. So 6th December 1922, the treaty was signed, which is only a 99-year contract, which gave the Crown authority over our land. That is up. That is over this year. The 99-year land lease is over. So the Crown actually has no authority over our land any longer. But you see, we have this Sinn Féin. They started out, Fenians, the Irish Republican Brotherhood, as these great men who fought for Ireland's freedom, and they were infiltrated all the way up. And now they're basically run by the Crown, and the fairy tale of the Irish freeing ourselves. The people have bought the fairy tale. They don't understand that these are just private limited companies registering under Dun and Bradstreet. They're only corporate investors, corporate financiers. They're not there to represent the people. They're there to represent the state.
Right.
When they get elected, they sign a contract with the state where they no longer work for the people. And if you look up here in the northern part of the island, because of Brexit, everybody was automatically removed from the voting register. So what they did was they gave them £100 voucher to re-register, because you know yourself, contract makes the law, and that's where their contract is, to be ruled by these people. And it's bizarre how involved Sinn Féin's Mary Lou, who is the Sinn Féin's leader, her sister is involved with the vaccine company Novartis. They have all big pharmaceutical interests. And our people are still in love with the fairy tale of our freedom that now Sinn Féin is selling in this beautiful United Ireland story. Ireland, the corporation, uniting the corporation so it can come back in under control of the UK. And that's all this is all about. They have sectarian, different sectors, different religious groups up. They're rioting up in Belfast a lot over the last couple of weeks, and they're here to wreak havoc with our people. Because if Sinn Féin were really for the people, they would already tell them that the contract and that land lease is over, like it is with Israel, and that we are already a 32 county sovereign state. There is no need to unite what they're saying, unite the corporation, only to tie us into the contract again with the UK. So they're absolute sellouts. They are the worst that this country's ever seen. And they will go down in history, okay, all right, but it will be going down in history as the biggest fakes and imposters that our country have ever seen, and we'll make sure of that. But I just want to say here while I'm here, for any other member of any sector or community, I because they are golden loyalists up in this area, to start fighting again, and they want to cause a lot of war. But I want to tell the loyalists we don't want the same thing. We don't want a united Ireland, and let's come together and agree on that, and let's see how we remove these cretins from their positions.
That would be a force to be reckoned with for sure. Okay, so let me ask you this about this, because so with this particular mining situation, it's been set in motion since 2004. It's in the final stages. So
Yeah.
so for people who in Ireland, or people just around the world who want to try to show support or get involved in this, but more specifically for the people in Ireland, if it's the final stages, what is being done?
Well, you see the guys
What is
up
the
there.
stand? What is the stand that's being taken in the final stages of this
Well,
fight?
they're literally sitting on the land, and we have a couple of plans up our sleeves, but you never show the other side the bullets before you fire them. So
Right.
I'll say here, but it's getting pretty interesting. It's getting pretty exciting. BlackRock has pulled out their 340 million investment, so they're down to 40 million, to which they have spent 12 of. So they're already now sitting at 28 million.
So BlackRock has pulled out part of their initial investment, or what they promised,
No, they pulled out the initial investment in
but
the share.
they still have investment into the project.
I believe that BlackRock has pulled out all investment of the 340 million on that particular mountain. Where regards to the others, they haven't started there yet, so we don't know. But there was a guy from New York who came over. I'd actually get there's a wonderful guy up the north here. His name is Patrick Hahi. He is the representative for the guys on the mountain. I only came in really later on because it was never getting air, so I didn't really know what was happening as much as most of the country don't. So it would be, I think it would be very beneficial if you brought Patrick on, maybe to talk about it in detail, because he understands all of the logistics and exactly the minerals, and the gold is only the smoke screen, and
Yeah.
he can tell you so much more information I can about that. But basically the guys are doing really great right now. They're pushing back. They're
What was his name again?
Patrick Hahi, Hiughey.
Spell
He'd
it-
go
last name again.
Hiughey.
Okay. I will reach out to you about
Yeah.
trying to get him on. What kind of time frame are we looking at with the final stages? I mean, before like it's just a done deal and there's nothing that the Irish people can do.
Nah, one of the guys, his grandfather had some of the land, so they got a Turbity Act from the 1900, which they could turf on the land. So they can't do anything for at least 12 months. So we're already plans in place that is going to take place before then. So
Okay.
it's interesting, and it's really only to spread awareness and to let people know that those guys are on that mountain all the time. They don't leave it. They're never leaving it. If they want to show their support, The Greencastle in Oma would welcome the support, and the Spurn Mountains. And it's just to let them know that if they plan to wipe out, they see this is why they don't care about destroying us with nuclear waste, because the crown has lost its footing anyway. So why do they care? We're no good to them anymore. So it's just to let them know that if they could destroy our whole race, basically our whole country and everything on it with nuclear waste, you may be sure that they don't care about anything else that they do either. So it's just to let them know how bad and rotten to the core that this government truly is, because COVID and the vaccines and the masks would be the least of our worries if they got their way, but they won't. They won't. We'll see to that.
Well, I mean, I appreciate you standing up for this, and I definitely want to talk to Patrick about this as well. And if somebody is watching this that's in Ireland and wants to get involved, or if somebody is watching this and wants to bring attention to the project, what's not project, but what's going on, and potentially talk to you or Patrick, is there a way that people, and I'm not sure if you want to do this, but I'm just asking, and if not, it's all good. But do you have an email address or anything that I could include at in the video description in case somebody wants to reach out
Yeah,
to you?
yeah. Giltrap, Giltrap, Sandra, Sandra, at gmail.com.
Okay, so your last name dot Sandra at gmail.com.
Yeah, Giltrap Sandra at gmail.com.
Okay. And I'll make sure I get it sent, get you to send it to me directly on Telegram. So I just got it
Great.
exactly perfect. So that way it'll be in the video description. So if anybody's watching this and you're inspired, you're in Ireland, you're close by, you want to get involved, you know how to reach out, and then make sure you're following the developments of this, because I think it's if you look at what's happened, as you've mentioned, historically in other parts of the world where things like this have taken place, it's ended up very badly for the people of the area. And then if you look at countries like Africa, where you have different nations going in and bailing out the nations so they can get access to all their natural resources, it helps the country temporarily, but then what it does, it takes away any future for the nation. For a long time. Is that damage irreversible? Sure, but it takes a long time to repair an ecosystem, terrain. When you look at some of the damage that's been done, it's really sad, and we definitely need to be standing up against these corporations, especially when it's we're talking about being good stewards of this planet and leaving this planet in better shape than it was given to us to begin with. So it is up to us, and it is our duty, and it is our responsibility to be stewards of the planet and to stand up for the planet, because the planet right now can't stand up for itself. Now it can shake its feathers, and there could be some earthquakes, and there could be some tidal waves and all kinds of like natural disaster stuff, but it is our duty and our obligation. So if you're in Ireland and you want to help out and get involved, definitely consider doing so. And I can say that from all the people I speak to in Ireland, it's going to be a fight. And I know the Irish are standing proud, and they're not going to just bend the knee. They have never bent the knee as far as I'm aware.
I bend the knee to nobody, only my creator.
I love it. Sandra, was there anything else that you wanted to highlight that we haven't talked about?
Well, this mandating of the vaccines to 5 and 11-year-olds, and the excess cases of myocarditis, deep vein thrombosis, pulmonary edema, strokes at 5 and 6 and 7 years of age, that don't happen.
No, I know.
Uh,
I know it's happening all around the world. I mean, it's not an isolated. That's not it's definitely not an isolated thing to Ireland. It's getting worse everywhere. I think I just heard that now Austria is going to be locking down the unvaccinated. So it's getting bad.
And here from today, well, not actually locking in our homes yet, but they've locked them out of all public places from the 3rd, or from today at 3 o'clock, and then in the northern part of this island, then on the 29th, they'll be all in lockdown as well. But you see, Ireland is, by their figures, actually, to tell you the truth, I'd be more comfortable if the virus held a press conference about these people now than the other way around. But they say that 91% of the people of Ireland is vaccinated, and then they tell you it takes 70% for herd immunity. So why are we going into lockdown if the vaccines work, if their masks work, if the lockdowns work? We've been the longest lockdown country in the whole of the European Union. And
Oh
plus,
wow.
we have a 75-year fluoridated water program, and we're the only country in the European Union with that as well, down south, not up north. So that's where you can see the strength. So that's why up north, they're still fighting. I believe the north will lead the way out of this, because they know what this is like, being oppressed all of their existence. And down south, they're just, and I'm afraid to say, I fear that they're gone. Like, the population of this country is in around 6.4 million collectively. And by their own predictions, they say that our population will be 1.2 million in 2025. And I can tell you, if that's the case, 700,000 of those people will come from the north, because the south, you just can't wake them. I don't know what it is. I spend 1 week up north and 1 week down south, and it's brilliant up here. The communities are getting together. They're not talking religion or politics any longer. There's communities right there becoming self-sustainable and supporting each other to bring that community spirit. Obviously, it is still difficult, and we have a lot of hard work to do, because of the divides. But down south, I fear for them if they don't get it together. They can't agree on any one thing. They don't even agree on the problem. They don't
Yeah.
even know what the problem is. And they're all running to get justice and waiting to get justice in these corporate banks, which we call courts. And it's not a place where justice happens. But you see, I've been teaching people around this country, that all of these people, they're insured or bonded by their contract of employment or their oath of office. And nowhere does it say on either of those that they have the medical qualifications, first of all, to actually even suggest wearing a medical device or taking any medical anything, injections of any description. And they're beyond their contract, they're beyond their remit. And these people, all of these employees, doesn't matter if they're McDonald's, doesn't matter if they're bankers, they all have their insurance by their contract. So that's where you need to go to bypass the judicial system, and go straight for their insurance company. They get two endorsements on their insurance, they're out. Push them straight back, every single one of them. Just get notice liability served on them, and get push these people straight back. And let's hit their insurance companies. We know that insurance companies are behind this. We know Lloyd's Insurance is the underwriters for the birth certificate. We know when they get the death certificate, it goes into a sweep account, which pays off the government's deficit for the country's bill. That's why they're looking for all of these death certificates. If they don't have if they've COVID on it, they're not insured. And this is what this has always been about from the very beginning of time. It's always been insurance. They've been behind the inauguration of the first president. They've always been there. So let's not talk about vaccines. Let's call them what they are. They're bioweapons. Let's stop talking about mRNA technology. It's a digital birth certificate, because the paper one is over. They need to patent it to make them their property. The patent on them is 060606. Um, and they become property of the state. We were property of the state, so we thought by our birth certificate. And actually, for the people of Ireland who are watching this, there was an interview done with Claire Byrne and RTE, which I'll upload to my Telegram channel tomorrow again, just to refresh it. Claire Byrne is an RTE presenter and an absolute propaganda witch. She was on with a barrister, and a child had fallen at a birthday party and got 66,000. And Claire Byrne had suggested that could the children sign a non-disclosure agreement, and the barrister had said no, because a child under the age of 7 is not at the age of reason. So all these unlawful conversions that had taken place, that we had no knowledge of, i.e. the birth certificate, when our parents registered, Reggie is Latin for king, when they registered to the Crown Corporation and took the children's allowance, which now made you no longer mother and father, but a parent. They pay you to rent their property. That's why Tusla can come in and come after your children because you register them. But the two key things here is that that was fraud. It was taken fraudulently. We were not at the age of reason. We didn't have, and you can use this recording as evidence in this from two top people in the country. And the second one is, see these policy forcers who are pretending to be constables, whose duty is the constable's duty is to protect peace, protect property, and protect life. With these policy enforcers, they're there to enforce 60 million code statutes, rules, legislations that do not apply to we the people. And we can call them on. And the biggest key thing here, and this is where our top guy, I won't mention his name for his safety at the moment, because things are getting heated for him, but he's going to The Hague. And the biggest thing to take here is personage. I can't pretend dress up as a police officer or a constable and go to your door and pretend to be a constable. I would get 10 years in prison. Now, these policy enforcers, that is exactly what they're doing, and it's a crime, and they all should get 10 years in prison for them going pretending to be constables. They're not showing their warrant cards, they're not identifying themselves. We have an innocent guy by the name of Andy Heisman. He is locked up in Castlereagh prison right now because he didn't wear a face mask. We had a woman who was 66 years of age, gone into 67 maybe, got 3 months in prison for not wearing a face mask. We have people getting locked up all over this country, innocent people rotting in prisons because of policies, but because they're creating, you see, they don't understand how the law system works. They use barristers, and I have no qualms in saying this, as it calls it in the Bible, Babylonian prostitutes. It's calling what they are. Um, they are selling them out. When you go into a court, they need three signatures to put you in prison. One is the judges, the other is the prosecutors. I'm sure the third is not your own. It comes from your attorney. In Latin,
Yeah.
attorney. So the people, the Irish people, they have such great heart, and they've just great spirit, and they're always so fun, and they're so giveish to a fault. And this is why we're in this mess, is because we are so giving and we are so kind, and we do want to help people, but it's come to the point where we've helped them to our own destruction. So we need now to get up off of our knees, and we need to stand together regardless of religion or anything else. And we just need to come together on one common goal, which would be firstly to wipe out the Alradians. And the second, well, actually, the first would probably wipe out the government and then the Alradians. But whatever we need to do, we need to do it together. And on the 29th of this month, if anybody wants to help out, we are going to notice 650 MPs, 166 TDs. They're all going out simultaneously. Um, but it's going to be take about 50 or 60 people with printers and laptops to get this done over a 2-3 day period. And I'm calling out the public's help. We don't do donations or GoFundMe's or anything like that. Everything we do from our own pockets and from our own expense. But what we would like, if people could bring stamps, because that I need about 6,000 stamps, and we found all of our documents. So because each page, front and back, you put the stamp on them, which would be a seal for us, and autograph over it at a 45-degree angle. If there was nothing on the back of the page, this is the tricks of the court. They say nothing to see here. So we put a stamp on the back of the page and autograph that as well. So, and each page has to be the same. And we have that by 166 down south, and that by 650 up north. So stamps, any £1, £2, or £1 or €1 stamps. And just if they could, over the next few weeks, just pick up a couple of books or a book here and there, and that they could bring them and drop them off to the location point. And again, if they could help out with that, my email address is giltrapsandra@gmail.com.
That was a mouthful. It was well said. You're very educated. I'm impressed. We got to do it again. If you mention your Telegram group, can I get a link from that from you and put it in the video
Yeah,
description? Okay,
yeah,
so that way
yeah.
people can join your Telegram group as well. So we'll have links for the email and the Telegram group. Like I said, let's stay in touch. Keep me updated with what's going on. We'll talk about Patrick And again, what I want to do, Sandra, if you can just bear with me 1 second, I'm just going to wrap up the video and stop recording. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, this is going to be on Rice TVX2. So, if you're watching this on YouTube on Rice TVX2, this is my backup channel. Make sure you subscribe to the main channel, Rice TVX. If you're watching this on Odyssey or Library, make sure you're following me over on those platforms. If you're not watching on Odyssey and Library, go over to Odyssey and Library and be sure to follow me because I have 100% of all of my videos over there. I've deleted more than half of my content from my main YouTube channel, and Rice TVX2 is serving as a backup, which may end up becoming the main channel one day. But Odyssey and Library is where all of my content is. So make sure that you're supporting those decentralized content sharing platforms. And as always, I encourage everyone to be the change by practicing change.
Pay it forward.